We're live, it says. You know what I ought to do, though? Probably ought to clean off this here camera. This thing, is that the camera hole? That's the camera hole right there. Let's see. Ooh, that's much better. That's much better, fella. Let's see. Let me get you guys up now that I got everything all screwed up. I'm going to get you, I got to get this, because I can't read the chat come across here. Gets all frigged up. What I want to do, though, is get it over here. I'll pause that, so I got to look at my ugly mug. There we go, round two. We're going to stick you down like that. And I'm going to be looking off into the distance over here at the screen. Over here where the chit-chats are coming in. How's this? Is this video any better? Is the choppiness any better? Man, the fajitas are not sitting well with me. Much better. Okay, so we're using the old cell phone. Good, so everything's better. Well, if it starts to die, I think I have a charger, but I don't think we'll be on super long time, so. Anyhow, all jerky and no audio. What? I'm gonna take the general consensus here. We're gonna see what people say. Hey, to me, Mario. 2 hours is enough. Hey, what's up, homie? Watched your video this morning there, fella. I'm fixing up your home. You're looking around trying to find 4 inches. Anywho, we'll skip right past that. We won't get into the naughty stuff right off the bat. Okay, so everything looks good. Must be some other folks have some poor internet issues. Thanks, Lee Brock. Glad more than willing to put the time into the videos and stuff. Anyhow, everybody probably wants to know what's wrong with me eye. The one that's cloudy that I can't see out of right now. Yes, what's wrong with me eye? Because everybody's like, you gotta wear your safety glasses. You gotta wear your safety glasses all the time. Well, guess what? Here I am, driving down the road. Just got done working on a car. I was heading down to the old Crosby's, the old Aero Mart, the gas station. And, all right, homie, yeah, I'm gonna leave you a good comment, don't you worry. I was driving down the road and all of a sudden I'm like, me eye! Something came off my hat. And I think it's because my hat's all corroded and landed in my eye. And I'm driving down the road. Of course, I don't want to get the corona, so I didn't stick my finger in my eye. So I said, well, it's not that bad. I'll drive back to the shop. I'll wash my patties and then get a Q-tip and I'll flick it out of my eye. Not a big deal. And so I get back here to the shop and I'm doing the whole deal and I can't find nothing. And so my go-to kit is right here. So what's up, bro? Is my mirror, this little mirror right here. I usually stick it in my vise. I stretch it up. I get my flashlight. I shine it in my eye and I use the Q-tip and out comes the offending piece. However, that did not work, and that was last Friday. So this is the Friday before Easter Sunday, Friday before Easter Sunday. So I'm like, well, I'll just deal with it because it was just a little scratchy. I didn't know what it was. Like I said, something came off my hat. So Friday night, fine, yeah, didn't sleep too good. Saturday, it got a whole lot worse, like 100 times worse. And then, what was it, Sunday morning, it's Easter morning, it was like 12:30 in the morning. I'm like, dude, my eye is like on fire. I mean, like just insane pain. So I was like, crap, I got to go to the stupid ER. Last place I wanted to go and get the Rona. So I had Mrs. O drive me because I couldn't see crap. And I get there and the lady at the ER, she looks at it. She's got her, just all they got is one of these. That's it. They just got one of these. Whoa! So she looks at my eye and she says, oh, well, you just got a scratch. I'm like, lady, I've had a lot of stuff in my eye. It's not just a scratch. Well, so she says it's a scratch and she gave me these eye drops and says, go home. It's just a scratch. Quit being a puss. So I go home and man, this thing is thumping. Boy, I can feel it. I can feel it in my eye. It's just scratching. And so anyhow, I go back to the ER again to get Rona for the second time. And so I go in there, do all the Rona testing. And that lady got a new lady this time, another PA. She looks at it with the magnifying glass, and she goes, "You got something in your eye." And she gets in there with an 18 gauge needle, and she takes a little piece out. It's just this little tiny freaking black speck of nothing. Just a little, that's it. So she takes that out. I'm like, oh, hallelujah. I could have hugged this lady. Instant relief. You know, she digs it out with a needle. And then she says, you know, she said, of course, because she had to scrape it out with a needle, that, you know, it's going to, you know, I got a scratch, it's going to hurt. So boom, I go home. She gives me more antibiotic eye drops. So I've been doing them. I can't see nothing out of that eye. You know, just, it's just cloud. That's it. So she said I should go to a optometrist. So Monday, go to the optometrist, which is in the hospital. So I go get Corona for the third time. And I go in there, and Mr. White, which was ironic, that was his name, he looks at me. He gets up there with a slit lens, they call it, and he's like, "Oh, you got more stuff in your eyes." So he gets out the scooper, and he goes in, gets in there, scoops out some more stuff. I'm like, how much freaking stuff got in my eye from driving down the road? Apparently a lot. So he gets out this little teeny tiny thing, and he gives me some more eye drops. Great, like, I got the eye drops. I can see objects now and shapes. So that's all good. I think everything's fine. It just looks a little funky. It'll be okay. No worries, right? I changed my name to Sue, right?
Yep.
Why is that?
Trying cash.
Yeah, I know, but why do you change your name to Sue?
Get tougher die.
You gotta get stronger, die, kid. Anyways, we'll keep taking the antibiotic eye drops. And yeah, you got to get strong or die. That's all there is to it. Oh, we missed a couple things here. Let me just check on these. For ice cream, I don't know if the ice cream store is going to open, Nick, and that is the biggest disappointment of my life. Right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? A summer with no ice cream?
Oh,
No way.
they get nothing to do.
But it's all takeout though. So I think that the takeout, because like here, you can go to a bar, you can get beer and booze and food, but
Twinkies got
you
food.
got to take it to go. And so yeah, the Twin Kiss, they sell food, and it's all to go. So I don't know, as long as we're 6 feet apart, I guess, you know, the magical distance. So I don't know, but I will save that money for the ice cream fund. $50 usually gets you through about what, a week worth of ice cream.
2 days.
2 days. Yeah, if we're being honest. Anyways, Ardent Stumpy wrote "The Man, the Myth, the Legend." Love your work. I am a man, but I'm not the myth or legend.
Not dead yet.
But he is from the land of no salt. I couldn't even imagine. It's funny. I was just talking to Keith about that, about how he's you know, working on some tech support with folks from all over the United States, and he has to change his diagnostic game simply because, you know, he's used to working like, you know, where I work. So, you know, somebody calls up, says, "Hey, I got this, you know, BMW, it's got this problem." He's immediately thinking, you know, it's got water somewheres, but, you know, it could be somebody from Arizona where it hasn't rained in like the past 15 years. So, you know, so he's got to, you know, he just kind of got to rethink things. And, you know, that's why I was telling him, I was like, boy, that'd be kind of tough for me too, you know, going to work somewheres where, you know, they brought in a car and said they had, you know, X problem. You know, I would think, you know, corrosion, you know, I'm always thinking corrosion, salt, crusties, you know, stuff like that. So, but things are different, you know, things are different all over the world, which I don't go anywhere, so I don't know, you know, I don't know what happens all over the world besides Corona. Corona. I'm so sick of hearing that. Geez, stupid news, stupid Corona, right?
Yeah.
It's all stupid, whatever. So, so that's that. That's all I want to do is clear up, see, you know, what happened to me. We should be able to see stuff here shortly. Oh, thanks, Corey. I'm missing stuff here because it doesn't pop up on my phone. Sorry, you start to talk like a pirate. It doesn't pop up on my phone. Corey, hey, thanks, Corey. I'll stay as safe as I can. You know, I've got some Purell. I've got a couple boxes of gloves, and keep a tampon with me just in case, because you can never be too safe. It's not pink eye, Mr. Tweaky, but I do appreciate that. Thank you. So, yeah, like Yeah, it's funny because customers come in, they look at you, and yeah, I do have enough toilet paper, Hector. So here's let me. Oh, I got to hit show on that. They banned you for some reason. I got to see Mario wrote an '09 CRV that vibrates after 70 mph while accelerating. Which shaft is it? I don't know, Mario. I would love to be able to answer that question for you. Um, I don't know. I mean, it could be the left one, the right one, or the rear one. I'm not sure which shaft on your car is vibrating. I wish I could answer that question for you. That's why I don't like super chats because, I don't know. I'd run on, I'd check to see if the rear U joints are seized up in it. I do a lot of rear drive shafts in those things, but, could be. If you want to know, just taking, if it's only during acceleration, probably a front shaft, but, you can just pull the rear drive shaft out of it and drive it, and that'll eliminate that. So, that'd probably be my go-to. And Fix It Philip says he's a self-employed mechanic, and I inspired him to start an auto repair channel. I'm working in Hawaii, so there's also a lot of rust issues. See, I would have never guessed that. So it must be the ocean, obviously, because that's kind of Hawaii's a little bit surrounded by it last I looked. Oh, that's interesting, Philip. I will check out your channel. I'm going to click here. I'm going to put, I can't go to channel. Fix It Philip. I have to write that down. Let me just write this down. Fix It. How you spell it with a PH? Fix It Philip. I don't want to hit enter on that yet, so I'm going to check that out. Yeah, that's cool, Philip. I'm glad that we gave you some inspiration. Start your channel. Anybody can do it. Yeah, it looked like I took a hit off the Avoca Smoka. Yeah, a little bit. Vinny, he's on quarantine. They're down there at the what do I want to say, down at the home there that he lives in. So they're not allowed to go anywhere. So I feel kind of bad for him because he used to get out and toot around all the time. But anyways, I think homie Hector was asking about the toilet paper, and I guess you guys can have a look. Whoa. Homie Hector was asking about the toilet paper. We're still out of toilet paper. It's still, with a respiratory viral infection sweeping the nation, it only makes sense to go out and hoard toilet paper. So, yes, we're still out. However, there are some places local that have it that are price gouging. If you have $45, you can go to the local top supermarket and get yourself a 6-pack of the toilet paper if you have their special card and can join their little thing they have. But I can never attend very many meetings, so hey, thanks, Spencer. But yeah. Whoa, Mr. Tweaky wrote after about 50 of my wiring videos, he went from wire to completely wiring his camper. Well, I don't know if I would have given you that kind of confidence, but you just had to jump in and do it anyways. I mean, that's what half of it is. Just fake it till you make it, man. That's how I got this far. Pretty much. Thanks for all the information and hilarious content. Gave me inspiration to say screw it and turn my flooded 302 into a 347 stroker. No kidding. See, that's more than I would do, Cremo. Cremo? I don't know if that's how you say it. Hopefully. Let's see. Greetings from the state surrounded by the Great Lakes. Oh yeah, I know which state he's in. Hope you and your family are doing great, and I hope you get your ice cream fixed soon, my friend. We have been on the ice cream because, see, what we've been doing. Mrs. O's been buying ice cream to come home, so we have ice cream at home now, which is unusual because I try to keep it out of the house a little bit. Because if I got it, I eat it. That's the problem. And so anyhow, so we got ice cream at home, and with the whole shutdown thing, I've been just trying to keep my kids from having Mrs. O murder them. And so each night we watch a movie and usually eat ice cream. And that's the thing. So recently we've watched the whole Indiana Jones series, which has been Indiana Jones 1, 2, and 3. Oh, demo for more ice cream. I think the ice cream fund is full, folks, but I do appreciate it. How do I feel about the American car inspection versus the much more strict comprehensive Euro test? Suspension, boot, grease sweep. Auto fail here, Suspension boot grease sweep auto fail here. Suspension boot. Okay, little context lingo here mix up. So I am not familiar with, I believe in Europe they call it the MOT test. Suspension boot grease sweep auto fail. So I'm wondering, are you talking like a grease boot on like a steering joint and stuff like that? If it's leaking grease, you would fail for that, because if that's the case, that's pretty strict. That would be way more strict than New York. Thanks, Michael. I do appreciate that. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so he says yes. Wow, so that's quite a bit stricter. Hey, what's up, Solid Diagnostics? Drive shaft boot. Oh, okay, like a CV shaft. If a CV shaft is leaking. Gotcha, I see what you're saying. So New York's pretty strict. I don't think we're the strictest on state inspections. I don't know. I don't know if PA is any more hardcore, because in PA you can actually fail for rust on the car. Like, I think a rust hole, where in New York, you don't even need a box side or, doors or, anything like that. Hey, it's Astro Tools. Let's quit talking trash about them now. We weren't talking trash about the Astro Tools, just saying. We love our Astro Tools. Finding tiny metal shavings in the threaded portion of brand new unused oil filters. Have I come across this before? Well, I can't say that I have there, Mr. Morales. Tiny metal shavings in the threaded portion of brand new oil filters. I can't say that I have. I would probably be inclined to pick a different brand filter, to be honest with you, if that was me, and if I was noticing that all the time on oil filters. But I think I'd be changing brands. Oh, Mike, so Mike, the disgruntled mechanic there, he says no emissions in his area, and I know. It's a Fram oil filter. I wouldn't even use that anyways. They're probably the crappiest filters you can buy. I know different parts of PA have different inspection regulations. I think some are safety emissions, some are safety only, stuff like that. So, yeah, there are different stuff there. What video shows Mrs. O updated kitchen? I don't know if I've had that in a specific video, William, that I could point out to you. Mrs. O is going to be starting her own channel here at some point, which was supposed to be sooner, and then Rona, she hit. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but that's just what we use for an excuse now. I'm like, I don't feel like working today. Rona. So I think she has a few videos made, 3 or 4 different videos made, but waiting to get the whole thing all done and all that stuff. And then tax season came, so we had to do our taxes and all that stuff. Oh, that was bright, light sensitive. Thanks, Noi. Garaza. I think that's a super sticker. I don't know about any of that stuff. When you get a classic in the shop, carbs, points, ignition, and diagnosis, sweet change of pace. Well, Hot Rod 89, 83, I will kindly share with you the fact that I've been here since 2005, and I can count the number of carbureted vehicles that have come in on 2 fingers. So the chances of me getting a classic in the shop with carb, points, ignition is pretty much slim to none, unless I bring the old farm all down. In that case, then I would have one here. But carbs and points and distributors are pretty much a thing of the past. You got to remember, most stuff that's 2010 and older is in the salvage yard here. We don't, most of that stuff's junk. If it's not junk, it's on the way out. It's from Vladimir Putin. Thanks, Vlad. How's life with the new lifts? Let me tell you what, Sean. I should have done this years ago. Why I never installed the second lift over? Let me tell you what. I'm loving that. I got them babies all put in. So this lift right here, this lift here, I just installed where my other lift was. The lift over here is where my little snap-on lift was. And I moved that one back simply to have, space, to walk through. Because if I put it, right next to it, it'd have been tight like a tiger. But absolutely wonderful. And this is the best designed arm I've ever seen the Versametric from Challenger. If you guys have not seen the Versametric lifts and you're looking to get a new lift and you don't know, do I go symmetrical, do I go asymmetrical, go Versametrical, because these things are the bomb. Triple extending. I mean, you could put long boxes on here, no problem reaching nothing. Those things are wicked awesome, as they say. But yeah, so you can pick up a little SUV like this little Honda Pilot. You pick it up kind of asymmetric. You just watch the center of gravity. But you get a little car in here. Center of gravity is quite a ways forward. You got that car back. You can still open the doors. You know, like for example, let's go open the door on this thing. Let's see. It's got nice door guards. Got beautiful door guards on it. I got the lift in a narrow setting and still open the door. This one not all the way. But if I set it back a little bit, then you know we'd be able to. But center of gravity on these about in the middle. She's the big one, the big model. So anyhow, but these little like these little CRVs, you know, I can stick this one right here where it's at. And let me kick the lift out, and then you know your lift arm would be, you know, similar to this. It'd be facing back slightly. And then I think, I don't even know if you guys are following along at this more. Versametric, that's what it's called, Versametric. Challenger is the only one. And then, whoops, hold on folks. This one here, you can open the door, you know, quite a ways before it hits the door bumper. So, really nice, wicked awesome. Should have bought them years ago. Finally glad to, you know, upgrade that and get some new stuff there. So let's go over here so everybody doesn't get vertigo. Oh crap, I'm missing stuff like a banshee. Hey, thanks Harry. That's pretty fun. Jimi Hendrix. Dude, I thought he was dead. He's back, baby. Coming out with a new Doors album. Is that Jimi Hendrix? I think so. Greetings from Maine. Just spent 4 hours grinding the rust off the toe plate on our 08 550. Been working on my own vehicles for over a year with help from your videos. Hope you have a great week. Cheers. Well, thanks, Suzuki's. Jay Booker says, stay safe, brah. Great videos. Keep up the inspiration for the DIYers. Well, I'm glad that I can be an inspiration. And sometimes I don't really feel like an inspiration, but you guys say that I am. Just to add more context, I meant a boot, ball joint, weep, tear is a fail. Also, any play in any suspension component, no matter how small. So that's pretty interesting, Matthew. So he's going back to the Euro inspection, the MOT, I think it's called. And yeah, around here, you know, we can have boots tore off the ball joints, boots tore off the tie rod ends, you know, idler arms, stuff like that. Can't have any play in them. You can have your ball joints in New York State can be falling clean out. You cannot fail for bad ball joints. However, if you have kingpins, you can fail for kingpins. But the good news is, you know, they quit using kingpins in pickup trucks like, you know, back in the 70s. But New York's a little bit behind the times in regards to that. But yeah, ball joints cannot fail in the People's Republic of New York. Or, you know, torn boots on any, you know, any component like that. So that's pretty interesting. I would be interested to see what you know, what the whole laws are in the MOT. I should look them up. Mr. Mantle, 1329, ordered a dormant exhaust manifold. Oh boy, I see where this is going. For his 01 Yoda, and it doesn't line up with the front pipe, causing a lean coat. Imagine that, a dormant part that doesn't fit. Oh, I've never heard of such a thing. Don't even waste your money. But I know what you mean. It's hard not to, you know. I mean, you can get the OEM one for $1,000 and it fits, or you can buy this piece of crap Dorman one for a nickel. You know, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I'm telling you, voltage drop diagnostics, that you cannot fail for ball joints in New York State. It doesn't matter. If that thing can be ready to snap off when you put it in the parking lot, you got to give it a clean bill of health and slap a sticker right on it. They drive down the road, the whole wheel rips off. Guess who's gonna hang in a sling? Yours. Oh well. Brand hasn't made a difference. I found them on Napa, Wix, Honda OEM, Ford OEM. Just saw they were residual from when they cut the threads. on the oil filter tobacco with finding. I'm gonna have to take a look. I'm gonna have to look at some oil filters when I bring them in because, well, I don't know. I can't say that I've ever, that I've ever seen that or at least paid attention to it. So don't recommend dormant? No, I do not recommend dormant ever. Well, I take that back. Stainless steel brake line kits for the Chevy pickups, those things are great. So that tells me Dorman doesn't make them, which I don't think they do because they come in the same box as the GM ones. So they got the same little stickers, the same plastic coating. So I'm pretty sure that the Dorman brake line kit is made by whoever makes the ones for Chevy. Would be my guess, but their stainless steel brake line kits do fit nicely. Yeah. What else? Oh, and their plastic fuel line repair stuff. I buy that stuff. That works pretty well. Which I don't know. There must be they don't make it because it seems to be anything they make is complete garbage. Would I be interested in investigating an 04 Chevrolet that misfires above 4,000 RPMs? It has 300,000 miles on it. Yeah, I mean, I could look at it for you, Chris. It's not a problem, but how much do you put into a 300,000 mile truck? What if you get into it and you find out it's just weak valve springs? You're going to put valve springs in it, or are you just going to put an engine in it? 12,000 hours on it. That's pretty heavy duty, bro. What causes a pressure plate to get tight and not disengage? 68 Chevy 305 new flywheel, pressure plate, and disc. What causes it to get tight and not disengage? Well, I see a 68, so that's about 11 years before I was even born. I would be curious to know if it won't disengage. So things I would think about there is the release fork, 'cause I assume this is not hydraulic, it must be cable or mechanical linkage. I would make sure that my linkage source, whatever it may be, is good and adjusted properly. I would make sure that the release fork is not bent, that the any type of linkage that's going to it is adjusted properly. Like I would make sure that I had the proper amount of throw. And I'm assuming like the clutch disc hasn't come apart, and I'm assuming it has the proper throw out bearing, and I'm assuming that the clutch disc is not releasing and that it's not just, your pilot bearing is stuck on the input shaft of the transmit. I'm making a lot of assumptions that you've already checked a lot of things. The other thing I would want to know too is that an old 3-finger clutch where you actually have to adjust the pressure plate or not? I don't know. If you, a lot of assumptions. I mean, you can put the clutch disc in backwards, it'll be locked up. You can have, the pilot bearing can be, burnt right to the end of the input shaft. Clutch linkage can be out of adjustment. I mean, there is a lot of things that'll make a pressure plate not disengage. So, I guess short of seeing it, that's about the best advice I can give you. So, yeah, clutch fork pivots. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. Do not use Omnicraft oil filters. Our shop used one and immediately failed on a vehicle and blew the motor. Well, that would suck. Isn't Omnicraft, isn't that what Chrysler uses? Isn't that their off-brand, like AC Delco, Omnicraft? Or no, that's Magnet Morelli. Never mind. Omnicraft, is that? Man, I've heard that. Maybe it's because I've taken them off, maybe I've taken them off vehicles, but that's good advice. And don't pee into the wind. That's good advice too. There's Mr. Tweaky again. He is tweaking. So, anyways, Omnicraft is, yeah, see, we don't have an O'Reilly's, Keith. I don't know. So why does Ford make their 08 F-250 a pain in the hoo-hoo with the exhaust manifolds? Is there a trick to get them out without $1,700 shop bill? $1,700? I'll do it for $1,500, including new manifolds, sir. Heck, I'd do it for $1,000. Yeah, so there is a trick to those. It's easy peasy, baby. If you're not dealing with broken bolts and stuff on your non-heritage body style Ford, all I simply do, I don't unhook nothing. Take that back. First thing I do when I get them old junkers in, them 3 valves, I unbolt the exhaust, the two bolts manifold the pipe. I take both them off, and then I zippy zap the two nuts out of the passenger side engine mount, and then I zippy zap the big bolt out of the driver's side engine mount, and then I jack up one side of the engine at a time. And I lift it up high enough to get this socket in there. Where is she? Here, old girl. Ha ha, gotcha. This 18 mil socket right here. 18 mil 1/2 inch drive. I jack up the passenger side of the engine. At the same moment, I'm reaching up and massaging the cooling fan because you don't want the fan to get jammed in the shroud. So I spin the fan starts to get tight. I throw my socket underneath the passenger side engine mount, and that's it. And then the engine's up high enough, I get in there with a cutting torch. I cut the manifold clean in half, right down the middle, right between the two cylinders. I blow it in half. I blow the two studs off the top. I raise the vehicle up. I blow the two studs off the bottom. 1, 2, whackaroo, knock the back half of the manifold off. And then I take the torch. I blow the heads off the bolts on the front. And I knock that manifold off. And once all the kibbles and bits are on the ground, I get all the broken pieces out and put the new manifold on. I mean, wham, bam, thank you, Ford, we'll call it. And then when I'm done with the passenger side, I let that down. I jack up the driver's side. Again, get my socket under the engine mount, stick it in there so you don't pinch these babies off. And same thing, I cut the manifold right in half. Sometimes on the driver's side, I'll cut it in 3 pieces because if it's a 4-6, I cut it in 3 pieces because those things are a son of a mother to get that one lower bolt. And, then I just blow all the heads off all the bolts that ain't broke. And then if any of the heads are broke, get the welder out, weld the nut on them, spin them out, move on with your life. Have her done and out the door by lunch. So maybe that'll give you some advice. And don't pee into the wind. I think we already said that one. Buying a new minivan, Sienna, Odyssey, Sedona, or Pacifica? Not Sedona. No, not a Pacifica. I wouldn't buy Chrysler. Any of the other ones, go for it. Kia, Toyota, Honda. Whichever one, I would say if I was looking at Kia, Honda, Toyota, I would buy whichever one was within my budget, and I would buy whichever one at that point had the creature comforts and stuff that I wanted and drove the nicest. I mean, that's the way I would do it. I wouldn't even consider a Chrysler. I mean, I wouldn't even be on my radar. I mean, unless they were free. Not even at that point. I wouldn't even take a free one. But yeah, that's my 2 cents worth. Hey, Eric, local from Corning. Oh, Corning, represent. Fellow New Yorker. He's just up the road. Had an 08 BMW 328xi with excessive crankcase vacuum come in. Needs a valve cover. Customer chose Dorman. $813 list. Well, Tom, the good news is you'll do it nice because you'll do it twice. I don't know anything about BMWs, but I do know a lot about Dorman. And I've done some Dorman crankcase gizmos on some Volkswagens, and they don't work ever. So if it works on your BMW, that will be one for the record books for Dorman. I chalk it up as a win. It may work, but I would not be surprised if it didn't. So that's interesting. Stop and see me sometime, Paul. If you're up there in Corning and you work on European stuff, maybe you can give me some tips. The big guy, simple production. He's a big guy with a simple production. 09 Crown Vic blows oil out every orifice unless I replace the PCV valve, and then it lasts about a week, then it blows out every orifice again. That's kind of a fun one. Blows oil out of every orifice. So, well, I would be curious to know. Wait a minute here, just hold on. Flat Rate says, and he works on BMWs. All we use OEM valve covers. As we've had issues with every aftermarket cover. So Flat Rate there, Mike, you can check out his channel. He's a BMW. He works on European cars. And according to him, you're peeing your money away with the Dorman one. That's what they say. You're peeing your money away. That should be Dorman's slogan. It already looks like a little wallet with wings on it. That's their, like, hey, we got your money. Back to the Crown Vic. I guess what I would do, if and it were me, which it isn't, I would be checking. I don't know what I'd be checking. If it came in and that thing's just, if it's pushing seals right out of it, I would be checking to see if it has crankcase pressure. I would be making sure that the PCV system does work, and if it's not working, I would be inclined to see why it's, why it's plugging up. That's interesting. Why it stops working. Is it iced up? Is it full of moisture? What's the deal there? But if the PCV system is functioning and it's still pushing oil everywhere, in that case, I'd be checking it for excessive blow-by. Yeah, I mean, and of course, I'm making a lot of assumptions too. I'm assuming that, the engine is sealed tight otherwise, and when you say it's coming out of every orifice, I'm thinking like, is this thing blowing out of the, rear main seal, front seal, valve covers? I mean, is it that much pressure? Because that's pretty weird. But yeah, I mean, I'd be checking the crankcase ventilation system the best I could. So that's, like I said, that's the best I could do. Short of seeing it. If you're close by, I can look at it for you. Let's see. What's this guy says he got an 05 Hemi Dodge Ram. 05 has a coolant leak. Taking it to two shops. Got the classic radiator cap and thermostat housing gasket, but still leaking. Notice a plug behind the power steering pump. Had some coolant around it. What do you think? I don't know what to think, Zachary. I do have a Hemi Dodge Ram out in the parking lot right now that I'll be bringing in tomorrow. And I'll have to look at that. I've pulled lots of heads on these, and I'm trying to think if there's a water passage right there behind the power steering pump. That's not the, is that where they put the EGR? On the non-EGR ones, do they plug that off? I don't know, because that would be on the passenger side. I don't know, Zachary, but I will have one in tomorrow. I think the one I got out there has got a broken valve spring. At least that's what it sounds like. So I'll have to look at that when I bring it in and see. But, I assume if they've already done your thermostat housing and, radiator cap, I mean, I'd be looking, make sure it's not leaking out of the pee hole on the water pump and, stuff like that. But excuse me, not too many places they can leak. They don't run any coolant through the intake manifold, so you don't have a whole lot of options where they can leak. I'd pressurize it, put a little pressure on it and, see where it's leaking. I would be inclined to do that while it's cold, which is easy enough to do. You don't even need a pressure tester. Just take your hose that comes off from your overflow jug, and you can put, hey, United Radio's in the house. Is United Radio open this joint? Take your hose off the overflow jug, put a little bit of air in there with a bicycle pump or something. Your cap will hold, the 15 pounds of pressure in it. So you don't need anything like fancy. Just put a little pressure in the overflow hose and the cap will do the rest. So hopefully that makes sense to you. What type of brake pads are the best? The type that make your car stop. That would be my, I don't know the Scotty Kilmer answer to that one. I use, if the car comes with ceramics from the factory, I use ceramics. If it came with semi-metallics, I use semi-metallics. I like to use Napa, not a sponsor, safety stops or the adaptive ones. So it's going to be their two best. When I used to buy pads from Advance, I always bought their platinums. And, again, I would buy them either semi-metallic or ceramic based on, what it came with. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. How about a video on aftermarket devices that allow one to turn off the dang auto start stop on newer vehicles? I'm thinking Frank does not like the auto start stop. Oddly enough, Frank, I don't see a lot of auto start or a lot of, start stop vehicles come in. A lot of times I get these General Motors in, which is our biggest, brand around here that we work on. It's Chevrolet. And a lot of them don't come in with, start stop technology. So, and the few that do, customers don't complain about it. And oddly, most of my customers I am are like, older folks. And, they come in and, haven't ever seen a problem with one. And nobody's really ever asked me to disable one. So I'm not even really too familiar with what is out in the aftermarket world as far as getting rid of it. The thing most people want to get rid of around here is the the active fuel management, displacement on demand, that kind of mumbo jumbo on their Chevrolets. Just condemned another one the other day. Well, I put the picture up there on the Instagram. Follow me on Instagram if you haven't. I just gave myself a plug and a wink. Yeah, so I had a 13 Chevrolet in, and the classic fouled and broken #1 spark plug wire, but or spark plug, and everything is all oil fouled on the driver's side. But '07 Chevy, new body style. When it's in 4 high, if the steering wheel is full lock left to right, the vehicle won't move under its own power. I have to give it a fair bit of gas to make it move straight ahead. It's fine. Any ideas? Well, that sounds like your classic crow hopping Chevrolet to me. If you take a 4-wheel drive Chevy or Chrysler or anything with CV style front end, and you put it in 4-wheel peel and you're on the blacktop and you put it in 4-wheel drive and you crank it all the way to the right and take your foot off the brake, you ain't going nowhere. I mean, you're gonna have to give her some throttle and it's gonna that's just normal. It's called crow hopping. Going straight you'll be fine, but I would encourage you to pull out into the grass. If you don't have any grass, just pull into your neighbor's yard. They won't mind. And if you do it on the grass or a slippery surface, it shouldn't bother so much. And this is making a lot of assumptions too. This is assuming you have all the same size tires on it. They're all inflated to the same pressure. Nobody's changed the front differential or the rear differential, and the gear ratios are the same. So I make a lot of the same. I have to make a lot of assumptions. But yeah, I mean, if you got 265s on the back and 245s in the front, and you got her all raked down California style, yeah, she's gonna be a rough rider. But that sounds pretty good. Yeah, you put her in 2-wheel drive, man, on the dry blacktop, you ain't turning it, particularly if it's got a locker in the back. So I just rebuilt the rear end in one of them. What was that? That was a '08. Yep. So let's see where we're at. Anyhow, let's get to the normal things going on over here. Why do I hate on diesels? Alex, I worked in a diesel shop for many a moons with my old man. Meaner than a snake. Love the guy. He wasn't meaner than a snake. Could be, though. And I just hate diesels. Mostly because they were all big. All we worked on was semis and tractors and excavators and equipment. And I'm just a little guy. These little pea shooters here, they do not pick up like 800-pound starters. And everything is black and it stinks. And my dad was ruthless, man. Ruthless. You were working on him. He'd be like, get me a such and such. And he'd be like, he needed to have a tool. And let's say he needed a 1 5/16 wrench that was bent. Well, if you had one and he had a torch in his hand, guess whose wrench is getting bent? Yours. Yeah, he was like that. He didn't care. He just do whatever he had to do to get the job done. Yep. I probably told you this story about what he did to my cutoff wheel, didn't I? I told you guys that one. That'll teach him. My friend's car developed a slamming shift between second and third. Other shifts are smooth, except this one. Any ideas? Big guy, honestly, I do not know. 06 Elantra on something like that, if it's something that developed, I'd be looking for service updates, any programming updates, stuff like that. I'm not strong in transmissions. So that you picked my weakest point, man. But like I say, what I do, I just did a Chevrolet the other day that had a funky third 2 downshift, and GM had a update on it. So that was a simple programming update, made that thing smooth as butter. I don't know if anything like that's valid. I wish I could answer your questions. That's why sometimes I feel a little bad about super chats because I can't always answer questions. Next month I'm truck shopping. What should I look for? Anything with wheels that spin or a Toyota, Mr. Tweaky. Now I do know Kilmer's answer on that one. I'm a Toyota guy, so if you're asking for car buying advice, you're asking the wrong guy. Chevrolets, Chryslers, they keep my shop doors open. I'm gonna put my kids through college. Toyotas, however, don't. So that's why I choose to drive them. Sounds un-American, except they're made in America. And so they're a Japanese-owned company, but they employ the American workforce. So Unlike Chevrolet, which, American-owned company, but you ain't buying no Chevy pickup made in the U.S. You want one made in Mexico or Canada or China, you can buy a Chevrolet. But that's just my thoughts. That's my 2 cents on that. I'm a Toyota guy, so I'm gonna buy Tundra all day long. If I had the funds, and didn't matter which one I bought, I'm buying Toyota. Did everybody just check out? I think everybody just left. I love my Toyota, man. I beat the balls right off that thing too. Takes it, loves it, just wants more. What vehicles are least reliable in my opinion? Chrysler, baby, all day long. Chrysler and Nissan. I think Nissan is like the Chrysler of the imports, in my opinion. I don't work on European cars, so I can't say like, oh, put BMW on that list and everything else. But Chryslers, baby, all day, every day. They're all junk, really. I mean, every car out there is junk. They're all junk when they're broke. And that's the bottom line. Toyota, junk. Chevy, junk. Ford, junk. Chrysler, junk. They're all junk. That's what I say. So this guy's got a 2012 Chevrolet Equinox pulsing in the front brakes at lower speeds. Replace rotors and continues. Help! Total Camaro Z28. Well, what I would do, if it were me, and it isn't, I would take and I would verify that it is the front brakes, particularly if you've put, multiple sets of rotors on it and the pulsation continues. I would verify that it is, not in the rear brakes. And if you are bound, set 100% determined it is in the front brakes at that point, I would be doing, a lateral runout on the front wheel hubs with the rotor attached, because you could very well have the front, the front face of the wheel hub is out of a round, or it's not parallel. So if you stuck a dial indicator on, you got take your rotor off, and that's, again, I'm making a ton of assumptions that the wheel bearing's installed correctly, that there's no rust between the hub face and the brake rotor, and, your wheels torqued properly. Lots of assumptions are being made. But I would say if your rotor is mounted to the bearing and everything is super clean in between, one little speck of rust in there, we want to find less than 0.003 of an inch of runout, 0.003 inches. So, I would bolt my rotor and stuff on. I'd check it with a dial indicator. And if I was certain everything is clean at that point, you have a couple options. You can either shim the rotor. They make special shims, or you can use an on-car brake lathe and, make sure you mark the rotor to the hub, or you can just buy a new wheel bearing and everything's good to go. So a lot of assumptions have to be made here. So hopefully that helps you. Thanks for dunking on the annoying Kilmer. Did I dunk on him? Oh, let me get out my big fancy scan tool. I love Scotty. That guy's a millionaire. Doesn't even have to work. Love it. What a brilliant man. Brilliant, brilliant man. An 04 Escape, after 3 alternators, the battery light comes on randomly. When the light is off, 14 plus volt. When the light's on, not charging. Any ideas, since I'm not thinking the alternator is bad? What I would do, Robert Brown, if that was me, and it isn't, 04. I'm assuming that's probably a smart charge system, Gen Com, Gen Mon. I could be wrong, but I think 04 it probably is. I would simply unplug the alternator, because if it is a smart charge system, when you unplug the alternator and you start the car, you rev it up to about 2 grand on the engine, the alternator should automatically start charging at 13.7 volts. And I would drive it like that for a few days. And if all of a sudden, boom, you're monitoring that charging system and that thing is dead on the money, at that point, then I would safely say, okay, my alternator is good. Then I'd plug it back in. And if I plugged it back in, and this is assuming it's a, what do I want to say? I'm assuming it's a smart charge system. If I plugged it back in, and all of a sudden, now things are wonky. Now I'm looking, Gen Com, Gen Mon, looking at the wires coming from the ECM, which are easy enough to diagnose. I think I did a video on Ford smart charging systems. Might be worth a little look-see. Easy enough to diagnose those, make sure the 2 wires are good. Usually what I do, plug in a scan tool, I short the 2 wires together. I look at my scan tool, I command the alternator to a certain charge rate, and I see Gen Con, Gen Mon, they go up and they come down exactly the same. Free tip, don't tell anybody I told you that. So that's what I would do. So, what are my thoughts on the 0206 CRV? He's got no 3 mile. Happy so far. I've ever had some big jobs on them. I haven't. I do like my CRVs. Got one over here. This one's pretty. Holy crap! This one's pretty cool. This one, a little something got under the hood. Something called woodchuck. And he wasn't in there chucking wood. No, this one got some serious rodent damage under the hood. Chewed up the rack and pinion. What? Yeah, electric rack and pinion got under there and chewed some stuff up. I think the CRVs are great little cars. Four-wheel drive system's a little weak. They run that dual pump fluid system in the back. Extremely reliable, but I wouldn't be out off-roading with it. You know what I mean? You start ripping up some hills and just the normal. Like if you're just out driving like a normal guy, you're good. You want to go out and impress the kids and take it ripping through the woods. Probably not gonna like that. Driving in the snow and the mud, the blood, and the beer, the normal stuff on the road, you're gonna be golden. But don't be ripping up through the woods with it. So yeah, I like my CRVs. Good little cars. Do the brakes on my Tundra suck after a brake job? Ever since the dealer changed mine, pads and rotors 4 times. Oh, times 4 rotors. The pedal feel sucks and the brake force is diminished. Bad brake lead job, maybe master cylinder. I would be taking it back, Mr. Irrelevant. Most of the time, when I get Tundras, Tacos, anything with that 4-piston system in the front, typically when they come in, the brakes suck. The pedals faded, a lot of brake effort because everything's seized up, but this is all geographic. It's all due to our area and our climate. So usually when I bring them in, everything's seized, brake pedal sucks. You get done with it and the brake pedal's like 100 times better. Brakes like, people they're going through out here, flying through the windshield. It's a bad deal. So usually the pedal is way better when it leaves. Now, of course, this is, not opening the bleeders, and this is pushing the pistons back in, and everybody pisses and moans about that. And so I don't open the system. So we don't have to do any, bleeding, anything like that. There's a lot of stuff that can cause a low pedal, though, so there's a ton of assumptions that I would have to make. But, seized caliper pins, seized pads, air in the system. There's lots of things that can cause a spongy pedal. I'd be taking it right back, though, if it was me. Yeah, tell Mrs. O the ice cream machine's looking pretty good right about now. Well, you know what they say, hindsight's 20/20, get it? Yeah, my hindsight's like 20/27 right now, because I can only read the big E. I can almost read that comment. Tomorrow will be the day. Getting better. Yeah, I wish I had an ice cream machine, I'll tell you what. This guy tells me Robert Crocran. We'll call him Robert Corona. Nova Scotia cars are also rusty. I relate to your pain. As an electronics technician, I enjoy watching your troubleshooting and scope usage. Go Eric O. Oh, I thought it said go Eric go. Well, thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. And Mr. Daniel Vlad Vivaldi. He's from Rome, New York. All the way from, when in Rome. I wonder how many times, if I would say that all the time if I lived there. It's hard to find a good mechanic around here. Would you take work from your viewers? I do take work from viewers, Daniel, under certain circumstances. Now, I don't have a application to fill out or anything like that, but what happens is, I think both of these folks here are viewers, but they're local-ish, driving, an hour or so. Sometimes here's what happens. So I get a guy, let's say he's from Rome, like the real Rome from like across the pond, and he wanted to come over here and he wanted to bring his Land Rover, and then all of a sudden he shows up and, he finds out we're in Podunk, actual name of Avoca, just FYI. Google it if you don't believe me. Original name, Podunk. Fun fact for you. I just winked at you and clicked again. That's a true statement there about Podunk and Avoca. Go ahead and Google it. You'll trust me. Somebody is already. So the problem is, the guy he comes from a long ways away. He gets out here in the middle of Podunk. He's planning a vacation. He brings in his car. It's got a list 1.5 miles long of intermittents that aren't acting up currently. I check it out. Nothing's going on. It's not acting up. Now he wants to know what to do. Just drove 6 hours. The whole thing turns into a show. And, so that's usually how it goes. or how it has gone in the past, and that is why I discourage it. I like it when, you get the guy like this CRV or this Honda Pilot, drop it off, say, hey, call me when it's done. I'm not in a hurry. Not that I'm going to take like 6 months or anything. It's just, it works out well. And they go home and everybody's happy. And unfortunately, when people travel in, the people, you folks, or other viewers, when they travel in from wherever they're traveling from, it's, sometimes it's prohibitive from to drive 4 hours, drop a car off, drive back 4 hours, or wherever. Yeah, see, Rome is 4 hours away. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean, Jelly Bean? No doubt, Uncle Trout. So that's that. That's my thoughts on, working on viewers' cars. I treat everybody, my customers, viewers, it's all the same. However, it makes it very difficult because it just seems that most viewers have intermittent problems. And, think I'm a miracle worker. I'm not. I'm just a stupid mechanic. All I do is I fix cars. That's it. Not miracle worker. I'm not God. I'm not, this automotive Moses. None of that stuff. I'm just a mechanic. I'm a fallible human being, man, full of sin. That's it. That's all I am. Just like you guys. So that's it. And don't try to toot my horn anymore. I mean, I just fix cars. The only difference between me and all the other mechanics, I put my stuff on YouTube. That's it. There is a bazillion guys out there 100 times better than me, and they just don't make YouTube videos. That's it. I'm not even saying I'm good. I'm just saying I make YouTube videos. That's why we have this. That's why we're like this. Let's come in for a hug. That's why we're hugging right now, because I make YouTube videos. And that's it. So don't get all excited. What happened to my Jeep that I built up? I watched the videos but never saw it after that. Well, Maverick, it sits right out back here. I drove it the other day, actually. So it sits out back. I got to finish it. I was hoping the whole Corona thing was going to make things slow down, and I was going to bring it in and finish it. I got all pumped up. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fix my Jeep. And then things got crazy here, and I'm buried in work, and well, that's where we're at. So, Mr. Spencer, he says, technically speaking, it is better to torque lug nuts completely on the ground. Oh, wait a minute. Technically speaking, is it better to torque lug nuts completely on the ground versus partial weight on the car on the tire? Well, Mr. Spencer, I am going to elect to not answer that question because I don't know. What I do, I'll tell you what I do. What I would suggest you do is don't listen to me. Look it up. Look it up on the lug nut manufacturing website. What I do is I zippy zap them on. I set the car down with just enough weight on it to keep the tires from spinning while I'm applying my 100 foot-pounds or so of torque, depending on what the car calls for. In my assumption, I would think that, let's say I put the wheel nuts on at 20 foot-pounds, and then I set the car weight all the way down on the ground. I would think at that point, if it's gonna like that a little bit, I'd rather have just a little bit of weight on it just to keep the wheel from spinning, to keep any bit of that coming off it. You know what I'm saying? I hate answering questions like that. I appreciate the question though, Spence. Spencer. Spencer? Is that you, Spencer? You know what movie that's from? Jumanji 2. I love Danny DeVito and The Rock. So that's how I do it. I just put a little bit of weight on it, just enough to keep tires from spinning. So, but that's like asking, how do I pack wheel bearings? You ask 5 different mechanics, you're going to get 5 different answers. How do I torque wheel nuts? Some guys are like 7 ugga-dugga, some guys torque stick, some guys like, precision torque multiplying unit hooked to his computer. That's a loaded question. You coming at me? So, anyways. So that's that. A Toyota man with a Honda logo. That's confusing. Good afternoon. 92 Accord extended crank when cold, sitting overnight, and sometimes hear air bubbles coming from the tank. High-pitched noise as well when it happens. No external fuel leaks either. I don't know. I suck with car questions, dude. because I just want to see like a bunch of things. So extended crank, when cold, sits overnight. Sometimes hear air bubbles coming from the tank. So what I would want to know is, when it starts, does it like, boom, fires right off, runs smooth? If it does, then I'd be like, okay, well, you probably don't have, coolant sitting in a cylinder. The other thing I'd want to know too is, I don't know on that car, if when you turn the key on, does it prime the fuel pump? If it does, I would be inclined to be like, key on and off about 5 or 6 times, make sure the fuel pressure is all primed up, and then boom, hit the key. Does it start? If it does, bada bing, bada boom, you got your problem. Fuel's all draining back and whatnot. Or fuel's boiling out of the rail when it sits there after you park it when it's hot. A lot of things. High pitched noise. I guess I'd want to know where the noise is coming from. I mean, you're just talking like belt just squawking like crazy. I guess that's where I'm at with that. A lot of things that can cause that. An extended crank, are you talking like 30 seconds or like, full minute? I don't know. I really wish I could answer questions, but I can't. I'm telling you, I'm just a lowly mechanic, folks. Once the CV shaft starts clicking in reverse, how long until I have to replace it? Well, you have to replace it, Dave, when it breaks. 100% every time. I don't know a single person that's made it past the breaking point that didn't have to replace it. So that would be my advice to you. Sooner than later, CV shafts are quite inexpensive. Plus, I know you make videos. So I would just replace it and make a video out of it. Yeah, I mean, if CV shaft's clicking, I don't know, it's hard to say, man. I can't. It's like, how long can I drive it with a wheel bearing that's noisy? I don't answer those questions either. You can drive it till it breaks. It's good till it's not. Just wave my hand and make up something like Scotty. Oh, DIY Dave here. He writes, when do I have to change my CV shaft? Well, Dave, I'll tell you, on my 1987 Celica over here, I drove that thing for 18 years with it clicking. Don't let the garage tell you that you need to change that part. Well, let's see who's next. How is that? That's the best Scotty Kilmer I can do. I'll get out my big fancy scan tool. Yeah, when you push the gas and it doesn't go into drive anymore, it's done. I should have had like a donkey pop up on the screen and stuff. Scotty's got all this stuff. I can't pick on the guy. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Love your channel. What about Nancy? You're always giving Sally and the weak woman credit. Nancy. I do use Nancy once in a while. So, thank you, Ryan. I will try to implement Nancy more. Scotty and Yoda's kid. That's the best Scotty I can do. Yeah, I love that guy. Not bad. See, yeah, I'm getting better. You don't need to go to a garage and have them get out their big fancy scan tool like me. You just plug this in, and it tells you what code it is, and you go to the parts store and you buy the part. I love that guy. The sunken flash. Sunken flash. I don't know what that means. Thanks for making the videos and bringing us along, teaching us. Ended up finding my mom's cruise control problem, which were caused by a failing O2 sensor. Whenever it threw a code, the cruise control shut off. Well, your mama must be driving a Subaru, baby. Because that's what Subarus do. Anytime you get a check engine light on a Subaru, you lose cruise control. Some Hondas with a VTM4 system, you lose 4-wheel drive. That's convenient. Way to go, Honda. How do I go about diagnosing a tire vibration from a drive shaft vibration? That's a great question. What I should say is you should go out and buy the Pico Nvh Kit. However, a tire vibration and a driveline vibration are drastically different. So usually you'll, in my simple mind, I'll think the frequency of the vibration. So when I'm driving, you know the circumference of the tire, and at 60 miles an hour, you can calculate the revolutions per minute, therefore you know the frequency. And same with the drive shaft. Most of your drive shafts are going to be, 4-to-1, roughly 3-to-1, 4-to-1. So usually, let's say you're going 30 miles an hour and you've got the, this thing shaking like a dog's razor blades, and you feel this, you're like you're on a little vibrating thing. You can usually tell at that point, like, well, that frequency is about that of, an input shaft, a drive shaft, going to a rear differential. Your front CV axles are spinning at the same RPM as the tires, so you just kind of start to deduce it all into your head. The advantage of the NVH kit is, it does all the calculations for you. There are some apps, if you can do the math, what's your gear ratio, engine RPM, you can figure out the rotating masses on the vehicle and the frequency at which they're spinning and start to make some of your own calculations. But usually if you're trying to determine, driveline versus tire vibration, usually that's pretty easy because they spin at vastly different rates. As long as we're talking a drive shaft going into a differential, which again, I'm making that assumption. So hopefully that helps answer a little bit. Let's see. This guy's got a 96 Chevrolet Blazer. Wow, I haven't seen one of those since I was 12. Change the wheel bearing. Wheel clipped wire ABS light on. 1265 pump motor relay open and a 1268 pump motor shorted. Till I turn the key on, then ground. 12 volt ABS motor till I turn the key on, then ground. So those older Blazers were notorious for the ABS pumps going bad. I think those are the older ones that still had it under the hood. If it is, the pump motor relays were built into the circuit board on them, and I mean they went bad like all the time, like repeatedly. Sometimes you would get those things in, and the freaking pump motor's just running out there under the hood. Brrr, you'd have to go out, pull the fuse or unplug the thing. So that was super common. I'd probably just get a wire diagram and verify. I just would make some verifications to see, if it is, is just that. But that is super duper common on those. Probably just Googling it, you'd probably find like 100 answers on that. Way better than ones I can give you. But yeah, so that's my thoughts. The Toyota man said, thanks for the advice. I'm thinking it's probably a fuel pump based on what you said. The high pitched noise is with the key on, fuel pump prime. Doesn't make it all the time, but nice Kilmer impersonation, by the way. And I thank you. Yeah, so that would be, Toyota, you're talking about the extended crank on your Honda that you were talking about. The other thing you can do too, if you want to find out if it is your fuel, you can put a fuel pressure gauge on it. Those are a pain in the hoo-hoo to hook a fuel pressure gauge to. So, do a bunch of key cycles, see if you can start getting the fuel primed up and, take it from there. So good. I'm glad that helps. Wow, there's a lot of these. Wyatt Andressen, not Anderson. Andressen. Maybe it's Anderson. Andressen. He's got a 13 Impreza with a 5-speed stick. He replaced the steer knuckle, wheel bearing assembly, and ball joint. Used OE parts. Has a PO 500. Cleaned encoder ring on old bearing assembly. Speed sensor is not working. Any thoughts? So I'd have to make some assumptions here. I'm going to assume that the PO 500, it must use, according to what you say, I'm assuming that you didn't have a PO 500 before, and then you replaced the wheel bearing, and now you have a PO 500. So that would tell me, so PO 500 is just a generic vehicle speed sensor, code. So, so I'm going to assume that Subaru uses one of the front wheel speed sensors for that. So, being that I'm making that assumption, what I would think is this 2013, it's probably an active wheel speed sensor. Again, I'm just guessing. So I would have to assume at that point that the wheel bearing is installed backwards. What I mean by that is the wheel bearing has a magnetic tone ring on it, and it's only on one side of the bearing. And if you install it backwards, even though the bearing will fit both ways, because, wait a minute, are they pressing? 13 Impreza. Now, see, I'm assuming it's a press-in. If it's a press-in, I gotta freaking look. I don't know. Just bear with me here, folks. I just gotta take a quick look because, I work on so many different brands. I can't tell you if one's a press-in or one's a clamp-on or what they are, but let me just take a quick look here. I'm going to think that your wheel bearing is probably installed backwards, or you just got to, if it's a bolt-in assembly, then it still could be defective. I mean, you say 013 Outback, you said. We're going to assume it's the 2.5 again. We're going to assume it's the limited. And we're going to come on here, and we're going to take a little look-see in the service manual, and we're going to go to suspension and wheel and tire system. Nope, not there. We're going to go to front suspension. Maybe. I don't know where it is. Front strut. Just bear with me here, folks. I just want to see something here. Maybe it's under something else. Maybe somebody else can answer this question for me right now, so I don't have to sit here and look like a ding-dong. Because now I'm looking like a ding-dong. That's all right. It's not going to be my first time I look like a ding-dong. Hey, it's under axle shafts. What do you know? Front axle, front hub and unit bearing. Remove. So it's a unit bearing. Do that, slap that. It is active wheel speed sensors from what I can see. Take that off. And they are bolt on. So, with that being said, let me click back where I can see you. So it is a bolt on hub assembly. What I would do there, Mr. Wyatt, is I would look at the back side of your wheel bearing, and I would look to make sure that it has the magnetic ring on it. If it doesn't, then, perhaps it's the wrong bearing. Take your old one. If you did not have a problem with your old one, here's what I'd say. If you took the whole knuckle bearing assembly, ball joint, you took that whole kit and caboodle off there, what I would do is I would take your old one back out of the dumpster, and I would plug that speed sensor back in. And if all of a sudden everything's hunky-dory, you got, one of two problems at that point. That's the simplest thing. You either got crap bearing or a bad speed sensor. That would be the easiest thing to do. Obviously, the problem wasn't there, and by repairing it, you fixed it till it was broke. And something there is defective. That's the best I can tell you, boy. I mean, assuming you're younger than me. I didn't mean to call you boy, sir. Mister. Do I have any tricks for bleeding the 09 Ranger 4.0 rear-wheel drive clutch? Died yesterday while I was trying to move. Slave is not leaking and pedal is 110% soft. Oh, Mr. Floppy. Now, let me tell you about that. So what I would do, 09 Ranger, remind me that's an internal slave cylinder, am I right? Somebody tell me, because I don't want to have to look that up. If that's an internal slave cylinder, what I would do, or what it's been my habit to do on those, let me see, wait for this to come up. I haven't done one of them things in a long time. I mean, a long time. I used to do them. How many did we do this year? Where's my forky tools? Oh, we got one. I've only done one this year so far. I always start my collection over. We only got one. So it's internal. What I do on those is if there's an opening in the transmission where you can stick a bar up in there on the slave cylinder, what I do is I get up in there with something I can see my slave cylinder, and I open up my bleeder on my slave cylinder, and I push it all the way back in as far as it goes, and I close my bleeder, and then I have somebody on the ladder, and I make sure that they're putting fluid in the master cylinder, and then I take my bar out of the slave cylinder, and I let it pop out, and it sucks all the fluid down in, and then I get in there and I thump the pedal a whole bunch of times. I'll push the pedal down, I'll let it go and let it slam back up against the floor. That usually bangs a lot of fluid out of it, and sometimes I have to do that process a couple times, but generally if I can get to the slave cylinder, because it's internal, get to the throwout bearing rather, I'll push it all the way back in, all the way towards the transmission. And that's that. So typically they don't bleed hard because when you unhook it, assuming you didn't change the line off the master cylinder, there is a check valve in it. So when you unhook it, it doesn't, drip and, piss all over. So usually when you hook them up and you open the bleeder, they usually gravity bleed quite well. So I'm really surprised that, that you don't have a good pedal. With TDM, right? Internal slave cylinders, I always fill them up from the nipple with oil. Oops, and then I just lost this comment. Yeah, I don't know, I get it back here. Something about nipples and oil. Nipple with oil can full of brake cleaner. Works every time. So try that too. I did have a Volkswagen in the other day. So this guy comes in, V-dub, blew out a rear brake caliper. And so he didn't want me to fix that. So he goes home, fixes it himself. And then he comes back, he's like, dude, I can't get my car in gear. So long story short, you know, brake master cylinder and clutch reservoir are the same thing. So he's got a hose that goes from the brake master down to the clutch master. And the thing runs out of brake fluid because he drove it with the bad master cylinder, or with the bad hooky dookie in the back, thing that squeezes your brakes, bad caliper. So anywho, he said he cannot bleed out his clutch slave cylinder. So he brings it. I was like, all right, well, I'll take a peek at it for you, even though this is not my specialty. So he brings it in, and it's a Volkswagen. I don't know, this thing's all slammed to the ground and wheels tipped out like this, and you know, can't even put on a lift. So I check it out, and I'll be damned, you cannot get fluid out of this. You push the clutch pedal down, crack the bleeder loose, it'd piss out some air, and then you would close the bleeder nipple, let your foot off the clutch, and then you'd wait a second. As soon as you open that bleeder nipple, the thing had a ton of vacuum on it. You know, sucker rate full air again. I'm like, what in the thunder? Long story short, fast forward to the end. I look on service data, and I'll be jiggered if Volkswagen has you pressurize the system backwards through the bleeder nipple. So I'm like, how am I going to do this? So I've got a syringe for brake fluid. I take the syringe, I suck me up some .4 in it. I open up the bleeder nipple, I stick it on there, I push it in backwards. He pumps the pedal. And it's just like the Italian service data. And all of a sudden the syringe is coming up, going down, coming up, going down. I see it purging air. Fantastic. Close the nipple, boom, got a perfect clutch pedal. So I say this is that you might try that on your Ford. Big syringe. Mine's got a big rubber tip on it. And just push it through the nipple backwards. And, you know, pump your pedal. Maybe that's all you need to do. But anyhow, yeah. So, works great. And I'm going to keep that right here in my little memory bank. Brad Smith just wanted to say thank you for all you have taught me. All the way, hey, from Atlanta. Hey, Atlanta, that's where Flat Rate Master, he's down in that area. Maybe you know him. Maybe you go to his shop, Brian. But thank you, Brian. I do appreciate that. I am obviously an honest master mechanic. I'm honest, but I'm not a master mechanic. But I'm a darn good entertainer as well. Well, I did tell Mrs. O the other day, technically, I am a male entertainer. So people ask me, what do you do for a living? Male entertainer. Maybe you've seen me online. I only say that when their girlfriend's around. It usually embarrasses them. Thanks for all your helpful videos and the laughter along the way. Well, thanks, Aller. 2112, whatever that means. Hey, Louisville, Kentucky. Why don't you get on them guys down there at Challenger and find out where Mother Lift is, because that's coming out of Kentucky also. Louisville, I think. This guy's got a 98 Subaru with a big 2.5. Chase this tail troubleshooting. What need up being bad gas? What ended up probably is what he meant. What ended up being bad gas? $420. And parts later, I'm doing timing, idlers, water pump, cam seals, oil pump, seals dry. Should I touch them or leave them? If you're doing the work yourself, Matt, and you have the time, you're already $420 in the hole. You've gone through the bad gas, which I can't say I've seen too often here, but if you're tearing into it and you're doing all the idlers, water pump, cam seals, you know, if the oil pump seals are dry, I mean, you're talking the crank seal, right? Cam seals, crank seal, they're easy enough to do. I personally, if it was mine and I had the time and I'm just out there having fun, drinking coffee, hanging out with the fam, I would just do them. I mean, I could do one of those engines in about 3 hours. Water pump, timing belt, everything. Seals, the seals are super easy to put in, so I'd probably just do them. I'd get OEM though, if it was me. But don't take my advice. Canada Stan? Where the heck is Canada Stan? From the Diablo 666. That's a terrible name. Must be from Canada. Thank you, sir. Massive fan in the UK, Tim. We'll give him a shout out. What's up, Tim? Thanks for all that I do. Do you ever find do you find a use for the Thexton 13 single hex ratcheting wrench? Make all my friends watch at least a couple videos of your single wheel brake videos. Well, I only do put brakes on one wheel at a time. The 13 mil single stage hex ratcheting. I think it's this one here. Is this the one here you're talking about? Where are we at here? Holy jeez, I almost fell over. That would have been bad. This one, because it's a 13 and 15. She's a double donger. I do use this, I believe, Mr. Tim, as you indicated, on drain plugs, which oddly enough, I run across 14s and 17s more than 13s and 15s. I seem to get a hodgepodge of stuff. Depends on if it's been at the Jiffy Lube. If it's been at the Jiffy Lube, well, it's vice grip size at that point. But yes, I do use this, and I keep it right down here in my box. Swivels. So I appreciate that. I tell you one thing, while we're on this subject, let me just check out this last one, and we're going to talk a little bit here. Thanks for the Ranger tip. I've ordered that tool too. Hope to come say hi from Montreal when this is all over with, if you don't mind. And I don't mind, Patrick. Stop on by, but don't bring the Corona unless you're bringing the lime. That's what I say. I'll tell you one thing I've been disappointed with, and we're going to talk about this for a minute, and that is these beauties right here. These are the SK X-Beam wrenches. They have been disappointing to me. And I'm sad because these things are beautiful and they fit the hand nice. They got nice fine clicks. Oh, this one just broke live on camera. Oh, there it goes. I find that the smaller ones break very easily, and that's when I'm breaking the 10s, the 3/8s, the 11s. They are not a gear wrench, I will tell you that. SK has made some nice stuff in the past. I'm a little disappointed at their quality in these. I like them. I like how they feel. I want to take them home with me. They will probably be going home with me and going into my toolbox at home and take them from taking up real estate here. They're nice. They look good. They're shiny, but they break super duper easy. So, which kind of sucks. I should probably get a hold of SK and see if I can send in my broken ones. But that's a big pain in the hoo-hoo. You know, the first time you use it, it breaks. Grab the next one, boom, snap, breaks. So, you know, that kind of sucks. You know, when you get stuff like that and it breaks on you, you know, you don't want to be sending it in all the time. And, you know, yeah, they'll stand behind it, don't get me wrong. But it's just a pain in the neck. You know, you get it and you use it and then it breaks and then you send it in and then you use it and it breaks, you send it in. I just take it home. I don't use my tools much there. And, you know, hopefully they'll last. And the open end, probably never going to break. So, 3,000 people. Don't you guys have anything to do? Jeez, this is kind of embarrassing. Dr. John, and he writes, I've used some of your electrical troubleshooting tips on commercial airline jets, 747, 777, 767, 757, etc. Keep up the great work. Now I am responsible for airplanes staying in the air. Well, Dr. John, don't do what I do, would be my advice. Do what the airline company tells you to do. I don't think you should be employing some of my tricks or tips on the airplanes, but I'll tell you, one of my favorite documentaries to watch, and I watch a lot of documentaries because I can't sleep at night, so I've been watching a lot of them on the jumbo jets. Pretty impressive how some of that stuff's made. You know, the big Boeings and stuff. And I could not work there. I mean, it is a whole bunch of engine nerds all in a room, and there's like 15 guys standing over one thing, and, you know, micrometers everywhere. There's no impacts, all these hand tools. I'm like, I'd be going nuts. But then again, you know, they're not falling out of the sky every day either. So it's because people like John out there. I do have an airline tool, though, right here. One of my favorite airplane repairing tools. So one of my favorite tools of all time. I do need to buy more of these right here, in case you guys know. Favorite tool. They use it on airplanes. And I love this little thing. Best thing I ever got. I'll wait and see. I think I've showed it on videos, but this is awesome. You know, some guys that works on planes, he wouldn't let them fix his push bike. That's pretty heavy duty. No, it's not a sew and seam ripper. I don't use sew and seam rippers. It's a wire spoon. So for getting under zip ties or into wiring harnesses. So when you got your knife out, and you can use it for nose picker. So you get this under the tape and then just like so. That thing works fantastic. Love that thing. We don't use sewing seam rippers. You kidding me? Forget about it. Where are we at here? Tom Ford, thanks for all your awesomely informative videos. We're an integral part in fixing my wife's Mustang. Look, dude, I don't know your wife. I've never been over there. All right? So wherever she's telling you. I'm just kidding, Tom. That's good. I'm glad that you were able to fix your wife's Mustang using whatever video you used of ours for your guidance. And I do appreciate that. So, oh, Dr. John's back. I work for the Big B for real Boeing. You helped me fix the 777 in Alaska using voltage drop. Are you kidding me? That's embarrassing, John. I need to look away. Not that you couldn't fix it, but that knowing a 7 in Alaska using voltage drop, that's fantastic. From what I've seen on the documentaries there, Mr. John, of looking at the Big B airplanes, is there is a lot of redundancy built. Come on, TDM. I can't keep looking at your comments. There's a lot of redundancy, I thought, built into these airliners. More so than I would have ever thought. For every system, there's a backup system, and there's a backup to the backup to the backup to the backup. So maybe that's why these things don't fall out of the sky like a bunch of rocks. And that's the main reason I won't fly, is because I'm not scared of dying. I'm ready to die. That's not the process I want to go with. So, airplanes scare the crap out of me. Perhaps if they would let me up there where they drive it and we could look around, I could talk to the guy flying and be like, hey, you okay? You know how to do this? What's your plan if something happens? But yeah, no, that's interesting, John. I would love to hear that story. If you have a chance to email me that story, I would love to hear the entire story of how you fixed the airplane using voltage drop. I think you're probably just yanking my leg, though, to be honest with you, because you probably knew how to do voltage drop testing. But one thing I was a little disappointed in, John, I tell you what, I was watching this documentary, not David Attenborough, but another documentary, and the way they build these planes is in modules. And it avoids the workers having to do a bunch of work overhead. So they take these big Boeing airplanes and they build them in sections. It's just like building cruise liners. They build them in sections, and then they take each module and then they snap it all together. To verify their harnesses, they were using continuity tests. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. We can have one strand of wire holding this thing together. This thing's going to pass continuity. They're not even passing any current through this thing. The guy with a ohm meter like, yep, this plane's good to go. No, sir. So hopefully, I'm sure they have more checks in place after that. It was probably just some preliminary stuff, but I did see that on the one documentary. But yeah, they were essentially resistance checking these harnesses, because each module goes together and then the wires are joined and away they go. But or I could have been completely misinterpreting it, because it's something on the Discovery Channel, and we know that's about as reliable as Scotty Kilmer's advice. So, but yeah, that's it. I would like to fly someday. Oh man, that's bad. That's a good one, homie. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I would let you know what I want to fly in, and Mrs. O thinks I want to fly in a helicopter. Dude, I would love to fly in a helicopter. Just because I think hovering is way cooler than an airplane. I think if I want to go in an airplane, I want to ride in something that makes me sick, something that goes like Mach 10, and your skin peels off your face. I think that would be fun. Or hovering in a helicopter, which I think would be great too. You are right with the continuity checks. I have to fix these anomalies all the time. See, I knew it. They're making these planes fly with just continuity checks. That's why I won't get on one. Wyatt's in here, ain't he? He's an airplane guy. He flies them suckers all the time. He tells me they're safe. And I trust Wyatt. I thought I saw Wyatt was still in here. Did I miss him? Oh, there he is. Wyatt. He says Wyatt will take me up in an airplane. He flies a big fancy airplane. I want to fly in a helicopter. So if one of you guys has a helicopter, there is a little airport like walking distance from here. I can get you landed there. I know the guy who owns it. You just show up with a helicopter. It would take a little too. I don't want you to go very high. We'll just be skimming rooftops because I figure if something happens there, I could probably survive that. But I had this fella come in. He was a helicopter guy for New York State or NYPD, and he was telling me that they can actually control crash land the helicopter, but you got like one shot to get it right, if I understood him correctly. So evidently when you're up there and the whirly bird goes down, apparently as you're plummeting out of the sky, there's something you do at the right moment that gives it lift of some sort that makes the crash not as crashy and gives you a little bit better chance of walking away. But anyhow, yeah, free rotor, I'm not too sure. But if they could tell me that we could get into a helicopter and in the event of engine failure, we could probably crash land it okay, I'd be like, let's go, because I'm thinking from like a hunting aspect. Like, I can go over, we could do a little deer drive over on the neighbors with my chopper, you know what I'm saying? Back all around the neighboring properties, get all the deer to run into my property, go park my helicopter. See what I'm saying? You can't do that with an airplane. It does sound illegal, but I haven't checked into laws. And frankly, I don't own a helicopter, so yeah, I've been watching too many videos. Helicopter, yeah, see, there's a lot of guys on here saying that they can do helicopter stuff. And the other helicopter I want to fly is one of those 6-rotor, like those helicopter cranes that they do like logging and stuff with, and they do like tower building. Those things look kind of funny, but like 800,000 horsepower, and they can pick up their own weight, like, I don't know, several thousand pounds. It's illegal in Alaska. Oh, see, I'm probably not the first guy who got a helicopter who wanted to go deer hunting. So, yeah, and really, stuff is only illegal if you get caught. Otherwise, you're just out for a ride. Yeah, the Ericsson Sky Crane. That's it. That thing looks awesome, and that's what it is. I think there's a documentary on that too. I watch a lot of flying documentaries simply because I don't fly. Yeah, at least the plane can glide. Yeah, I don't know. I think just a helicopter sounds way cooler because you can be like, you can hover right over people's houses, holler at them on the PA like, "Come out! This is the police!" You can't do that in an airplane. And then you can just take off. I don't know. A helicopter just seems like way more fun to me. You can do cooler stuff, I think. So that's what I'm thinking. Yep. Anyways, so if anybody has a helicopter and you happen to be zippy zapping over top of Avoca, you come hover over top of South Main Auto and holler on your PA or something. I would totally be hooked on that. That would be great. I think that would be awesome. I'd be scared out of my mind though. Mrs. O, she's done flown. She's been in hot air balloons and all that stuff, but I don't know. That ain't for me. Apache helicopter. Yeah, a helicopter with machine guns or something. That'd be kind of fun too. Wanting to shoot some stuff. But how long have we been on here? It's been quite a while, I think, at least an hour or so, hour and a half probably. So we probably ought to, wait a minute, that guy says he owns 2. The stored energy landing for a helicopter is a thing. See, I'm pretty sure. I know there's a lot of aviation folks here on the South Main Auto channel, and I see, see, Mike, he took one in the Grand Canyon. See, I think it'd be awesome. And then, even if you hit a Grand Canyon wall and the whole thing blows up, it's not like an airplane where you're like, ah, 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 you're 20 minutes till you hit the ground. Helicopter, you're, that's it. You're done. At least that's my thoughts. I could be totally wrong. Anyways, let's see. Where are we at here? Yeah, a lot of guys have a lot of opinions, but you know what they say, opinions are like buttholes. We all got one. Some of them stink. So anyhow, I'm going to get rolling. The children need to go home at this point. I've got to go put my eye drops in so I can hopefully see in the morning. If not, in the next couple days, we'll be able to see. And we're going to keep on trucking. I did get you folks a few videos. Actually, I only got you one videos today. That's a big lie. I did not get you a few. I got you one. But there'll be one coming out on this Honda over here when I get the parts for it. Well, I'll show you the rodent damage. And then we got this one over here. And over here, I show you the importance of not following rabbit trails and not following your gut, but to go with good, to plan the work and work the plan, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I show the importance of that on that pilot over there because I almost fell into that dirty little trap of the TSB or the repeat failure or the assumption. And it almost got me. Hook, line, and sinker. However, once I verified that was not it, I had to go all the way back to the beginning, hit replay, and just do my diagnostic routine, had the answer in 5 minutes. Should have done that from the beginning, but I didn't. So, a little bit of a video on that. Oops. Let me just, no more of these folks, please. I work at the I paint the 747 heat shield frame, small parts, and all the other 7 series, some military. So that's pretty interesting, Cheap. See, there are some aviation folks in here working for the big B company, Boeing. Huge facility, anyways, huge. And this guy's 12 Kia Optima's rear knuckle bushing is creaking like mad. Is there any way to replace that without replacing the hub? I don't know the answer to that question. What I would do is I would look on places such as, Rock Auto, Napper, not a sponsor, Advance Auto, probably Rock Auto, because if they don't have it or if the dealer doesn't have it, then it probably doesn't exist. So is the bushing replaceable? Absolutely. Is it available? I don't know. That's going to be the hindering factor. If it's available, yes, it's replaceable. Perhaps Google it, or like I say, look on the Rock Auto. That's what I would do. And then I would take it from there. Let's see. Anyways, we're going to get motoring. What the heck were we just talking about? My memory is about as long as my little finger. Hey, Jim, the car guy, didn't even see you in here, buddy. Good talking with you the other night, by the way. Glad to hear everything is okay in Jersey. That's not how they say Jersey. Anyways, thanks for sticking around, guys, especially all the moderators. I keep looking at comments and I lose my train of thought. And good to see you guys around. Actually put a little spring in my step. Not getting down with the whole Rona thing or anything. Hopefully a helicopter flies over here and yells out the PA, because that'd be pretty cool too. And but it was great seeing a lot of you folks here. Again, thank you to all my moderators for getting rid of all the ding-dongs. All right, homie Hector, you hang on. That's what I was waiting for. There you are. You hold on there, little fella. I'm going to add you as a moderator. There you go, homie. Homie Hector, great guy. Check out his channel. All the other folks with the blue wrenches that are coming up on the screen, all have YouTube channels, all great folks, all personal friends, people I know. So, go around and, patronize other people's channels. A lot of people are stuck at home. A lot of great stuff out there. Yeah, you got Kuba, Ozstar Mechanic. He's a Chevy guy, so I really don't know about him. TDM 4-wheel drive, TDM 4x4. He's a Land Rover guy. They're kind of iffy. He got Smitty. He's got a wicked, awesome accent from me ass. He fixes cars, and people die from their hats because they have hat attacks. You got the Flat Rate Master. He's down south. Doesn't see the rust. Jim, the car guy. He's from Jersey. Smitty, wicked cool guy. Wicked cool. And then you got homie Hector, who's wicked awesome too, but he doesn't talk like that. Yeah, Smitty's accent, it just makes me smile. Anytime I feel bad, I'm like, I gotta go listen to Smitty. Yeah, even if he's just swearing at a car, it just makes me feel great. All right, guys, I got to roll. We're going to be on here in the next half hour. I do appreciate you folks stopping in and hanging around and the super chats and the talking and the stories and just the overall fun. I do appreciate it. Keep an eye out. Got some videos coming up, and that's all I can tell you. We'll finish off with a little hug. We'll hug it out, and we'll see you guys around. This is on the camera here on this thing, so I don't know how to turn it off. So I'm gonna try not to make it weird, and that's that. I think it's this button right here. Let's try that one. It wants to know if I'm sure I want to stop streaming. I do. All right, viewers, just remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.